It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So the whole idea is to be aware that you need to check your boobs. But how do you know how to check your boobs? How do you know what feels right and what feels wrong? I had no idea. And in fact, if I'm honest, I wasn't really checking. When I was 48, I started to check. And it's only because I'd lost some weight and I decided that I needed to be more body aware, and I just felt my boobs, and actually something didn't feel right. So I guess you do know when you eventually go there, something doesn't feel right. And there was this tiny little, my right boob, a tiny little, felt like a little pebble. And I thought, is that a lump? Because nothing felt like that. You know, boobs have all kinds of little bits and pieces in it, but it's part of your boob. But this didn't feel quite right. So for a month, I kept trying to massage it away at night because I didn't believe it was real. And then at the end of the month, nothing was happening. It wasn't going away. And there was this feeling of, oh, is it what I think it is? Eventually, I called my GP and they said, you know, what's it about? I said, well, I think I've got a lump in my breast. Actually, that was enough for them to say, okay, we'll make an appointment. And I saw GP literally the next day, which I was really happy about because you know what it's like trying to go see a doctor. Even then, because that was way back in 2004. So I got my appointment and the doctor tried to reassure me that at my age, you know, approaching 50, more likely to be a cyst than anything else. Showed me some charts and things, said, but we do obviously have to send you for some tests. And what I had was a mammogram, a biopsy. In fact, it was a needle test as well. So I did a needle test and a biopsy and ultrasound. The combination of all of that was that I did have cancer. And the funny thing is, when they did the ultrasound, the last time I had ultrasound was when I was pregnant with my third child. So I was used to looking at the screen and I could just see this little dark thing in my boob that didn't look like the rest of the things in my boob. And I said, is that my cancer? But no one said anything because obviously at that stage it hadn't been established that I had cancer. Long story short, I did have cancer. I had to have what they call a wide excision removal because where it was, they didn't need to take the boob, they could just take the lump out and some area around it as well, plus some of my lymph nodes in my armpit. They examined everything and said it's a grade 3 cancer. It was 3 centimetres, but it hadn't spread anywhere. And I was very, very relieved about that. After that, I had to have the chemotherapy treatment, which I know people have a terrible time with chemotherapy. I think I had a terrible time with it, but I didn't realise I was having a terrible time simply because I carried on working. And I only carried on working because I needed to pay a very big mortgage, and I was concerned that if I didn't have a job or if I failed in my job, I'd have no money. How would I pay the mortgage? How would I look after my kids? You don't want to have a financial worry when you've got cancer, but actually a lot of us do. And sometimes it just goes with that territory. I don't know about you, but I felt I had nothing else to do but to work. And the weirdest thing about that was that I almost didn't feel unwell after my chemotherapy. I took a day and a half off for chemotherapy. I'm not trying to be Superwoman, but I was terrified of not doing my job properly. I needed to keep working. But in the end, that was my salvation because the pressure to keep working kept my brain off how I was feeling. So I didn't actually think about how I was feeling. I was thinking about lots of other things. So when they say, Jesus is coming, look busy, that's what I was doing. I was keeping busy. I mean, the thing about all of this, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, I got better. And then after my 5 years, I had this checkup with my oncologist, and blow me if he didn't feel something in my other boob. And I said, what do you think it is? He goes, well, it could just be like a nodule. I said, a what? A what? And I thought, you know what, he's trying to be kind because he doesn't know yet. He thinks it's cancer, and he feels about 50 pairs of boobs a week. So he was right. He was right. I had the biopsy, had the ultrasound, all the normal things. And 5 years after my first breast cancer, I had another new one in my other boob. God almighty. So I said, Tim, do you think I need to have these boobs off? No, you're just unlucky. So I went through the whole treatment again. It was still a grade 3 cancer. Some of you probably know it means it's the fastest growing cancer. And it had spread to some of my lymph nodes in my armpit, so they took all of the lymph nodes out of that armpit. Had the chemotherapy after the operation, had the radiotherapy, but this time I actually had started my own business, so I could take time off, if you like, because I was working from home. So I thought, take it a bit easier this time, Sharon. Don't have a, don't beat yourself up and keep working. Well, that was the worst thing I could have done, because actually having time to dwell, to think about how you feel, well, 2 or 3 days after chemo, if somebody asked me how I felt, I burst into tears. Why? I don't know, but genuinely, having time to be kind to myself was probably the worst thing I could do for me. This is just me. Other people respond differently, but I felt worse with the chemo. I felt everything was much, much worse. And I put it down to not having this as busy with other things. It was better to have my mind on other things. But anyway, got over all of that. And in fact, the one really brilliant thing about having the second breast cancer was that when my hair grew back, because the first time it grew back and it was like this white fuzz, I shoved a hair dye on it. This time I thought, I'll keep it going and see what it's like. And actually, I loved having grey hair. So that was a silver lining. I mean, I don't really like the idea of cancer having silver linings like that, but it gave me the grey hair. But the reason I'm talking about breast cancer now is that you don't always get the full picture about you. And my problem was that I'd had cancer in both boobs. I have 3 children. I've got 3 sisters. I felt that something wasn't right. So I went back to my oncologist and my surgeon, sat down with them and said, maybe we need to do some more tests because this can't be right. There has to be something that's wrong. Maybe there's cancer in the family. And they said, well, there isn't cancer in your family, is there? I said, yes, but maybe it started with me. Maybe I'm the start of it. He goes, no, it doesn't work that way. At that stage, I don't know what the statistics are now, but back then, that was 2009, they said 65% of all breast cancer is just random. You're unlucky. And I said, I've got to find a way to protect my kids. And basically, without saying calm down, dear, they told me to calm down, dear. But I wasn't calm. I wanted to protect my family. And God bless him, I phoned up my GP, because at that stage I had a GP whom I knew and I saw each time when I went to see my doctor, and that was Matthew Hunt. He's a saint. And I said to him, imagine you're in the same boat and you've been told, don't worry about it, it's just a chance thing, it's random. But you thought your life or your children's lives or your sister's lives might be at stake. And he made some phone calls for me, and he got back to me within a week to say, if you ring this number, it's a genetics trial that's going on. They're based at Great Ormond Street, but if you can talk to these people, there's a Dr. Kumar there, he might be able to help you. So I phoned Dr. Kumar, and I went and met this lovely lady called Emma Williams. We sat down for about an hour going through the whole family history. And she said, I think you are eligible for a trial we're doing. Could take about a year to find anything out, but would you like to go on the trial? So I said yes. He took some blood from me, and within a year, in fact it was exactly a year, and it was on my eldest daughter's 21st birthday, I got this phone call to say, I know it's taken a while, but we've got the results of your tests, and you have the BRCA1 gene. That's the breast cancer 1 gene, which means I have up to 80% chance of getting breast cancer. It's genetic, so I have inherited it. Who knew? Because no one really had any breast cancer in our family that we knew of. My mum had died when she was 50. Maybe she would have developed it. We did actually eventually work out that probably that gene had come from my mum's side of the family anyway. So we started, all our aunts and uncles started getting tested to check if they had the BRCA1 gene. And a couple of them did. So their kids had to get tested. And my cousin, her dad had tested positive, so she then had to have a test. They did a breast MRI, and they found that she had a tumour in her breast. So they went to operate, and there were 2 tumours, malignant. So she had a double mastectomy, she had her ovaries removed. So the BRCA1 diagnosis was pretty helpful because we started saving people. Sadly, my kid sister's got the BRCA1 gene. My middle daughter's got the BRCA1 gene. I mean, she's not 30, but she's going to have to make decisions about what she does to protect herself, because there are things you do these days, which is you have to have your ovaries removed, you have to have your boobs removed to protect yourself. And I haven't yet protected me because I've had my ovaries removed, but my advice between my oncologist and my surgeon in Essex and the advice I'd received elsewhere was, well, you could have them removed now, but you're probably safe not having them removed. So I was in this dilemma as to whether I should have the operation or not. So I actually decided, don't do anything. This is 2011. 2011, I won't do anything. I did have my ovaries, I think I said, that had that removed, but I won't take the boobs off. Anyway, through a chance conversation I had with the genetics people, must have been about 3 years ago, we were chatting and they said, but you have had your double mastectomy, haven't you? I said, no, I haven't. My surgeon oncologist said that it's a 50-50 chance, you know, and they said the decision's yours, would you like to do it or not? So I decided no, because, well, we think you should. And I thought, oh, it's the only thing I haven't done to protect myself. So on the 7th of November, I'm going to the Royal Free and I'm going to have a double mastectomy. It's a worry because I've had radiotherapy on both my boobs, so the skin may not react the way it should when you're operated on, so the operation may fail. It may not, which I hope it doesn't, but either way, the boobs have to go because I want to stay safe. And I want to live a long and healthy life and be there for my kids and to see my kids' kids. So that's where I am now with my cancer story. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was, what about the people who have cancer? Because the theme for Breast Cancer Awareness Month this month is about living with cancer. What about those people who've told, that's it, you've got cancer, there's nothing we can do? Well, you know what? There's always something. There's always a trial. There's always some treatments. And I know I don't want to be evangelical about this, but you can always push and find out more. Mine seems quite simple now in terms of my BRCA1 diagnosis, but I really had to push. And my surgeon oncologist will have nothing of it. You don't need to do anything. Were they wrong? And that's the point. Not everyone knows everything. And you need to search and find other people who might have another option. And I'm not trying to hold out false hope for people, but these days you can live with cancer. You can have treatments that keep you going for years and years and years. And why shouldn't you grab that chance to keep going? So I suppose if I was going to say anything about living with cancer, is find someone who will give you a second opinion. Find groups where they can give you an option to do something different. And I'm not talking about going on some strange, weird and wonderful stuff. There's enough science out there. There's enough science out there that can help you. But you've got to be in the hands of the right people. And not everybody is the best, but there are good people out there. You have to search and find them. And you have to get on forums, talk to other people. And there will always be someone. Clinicians know what they're doing, but they need to be the right clinicians. And there are some great ones out there. I don't want to fill you with fear, I want to fill you with hope, because all cancers are pretty shitty things. They just really are. But you know, ladies, you know, our boobs are quite important to us, and we need to look after them. So keep checking. And I hope to goodness you never find anything. But if you do something about it as fast as possible. This is supposed to end on a happy note. My happy note is, if this works, I'll have, for the first time in my entire life, pert boobs. There's always a silver lining. Bye.